Hey everyone! So welcome to my video on your inner child. So this is an intro to let you know what it means when I say inner child. It lets you evaluate if you have inner child issues, which most of us do, even though we don't want to admit it. I guess I didn't really plan for this. I kind of just got in here and hit record. I knew it would come to me. But so we all go through life and we have these things happen to us throughout childhood. It could be, you spill a glass of milk and you get yelled at by a parent. You um, try to get attention and you get reprimanded or told to go sit down. You act out in bad behavior to try to get attention and again you get punished. Different things throughout life where now when you think back about things, it could be something simple as that to molestation or abuse, physical abuse or sexual abuse or mental emotional abuse. But things like spilling a glass of milk and getting yelled at, at my age at 42, I look back at that and think, oh, that's nothing, that's just brush it off, or yeah, you did it and you got in trouble, big deal, but when you're 3 or 5, someone yelling at you for spilling a glass of milk or whatever, that really messes with your self-esteem and it makes you feel, sometimes unloved in those situations, or like you don't matter, or when a child gets punished, yeah, kids need to be punished, of course, but when they're not when it's not explained to them, it's more of you just do as I say, and they get reprimanded or yelled at, or maybe they're trying to get attention from a parent and they're just told to go sit down, or they're in the middle of something. A lot of us don't even mean to do it. It just happens, especially now people on cell phones are always looking at their phone, and you go to the playground and see people with kids, or go anywhere really and see people with their kid, and they're just kind of want their kid to go play and they're on their cell phones, and they're not really paying attention to the kid, and that really makes kid feel invisible even though you're not really thinking about it. So it's something like that, or it could be, maybe the child was molested or abused and they felt unworthy and felt all this guilt and shame going forward in life, and all that stuff builds up because it never really gets cleared. A lot of kids who are molested don't tell their parents, and until I did this work, I never realized how many kids were molested. It's really alarming and really disturbing. So many kids are molested, sexually molested by, family members or friends or neighbors, trusted people like babysitters. I most of my clients have been through that, and I just never realized how many kids had that issue until I started doing this work. It's just amazing. It's really disturbing. But stuff like that happens, and a lot of kids keep that in. They feel guilt or shame or fear, so they don't say anything. And as they grow up, you build these defense mechanisms and a protective barrier of things that happen to you throughout life. And a lot of us, even though you don't realize it, we live through our inner child wounds. We act out, we speak through. It's kind of like someone who is an adult and they're really confrontational. They're they have to be seen, they have to be right. They'll argue with everything you say, and or they have to be loud, and or maybe in a confrontation they can't handle confrontation, so when someone tries to discuss something with them, or there's a little bit of a conflict or an argument, that person really like bows up and like starts yelling and screaming and storms off. That's total inner child issues. That is your inner child, because even though you can be a 42-year-old woman, there was still this little girl in there that needs to be healed, and a lot of us have it. We just don't realize it. I do so much work with people with inner child issues that I notice it everywhere. I notice it in the grocery store. I notice it in everyday life, and it's and I mean, it's grown men too. Grown men, they have inner child issues as well, and just or someone who will insult everyone else. They'll talk about them, they'll insult them. No one else can do anything good enough, or it's like what they're wearing, what their hair looks like, or always negativity, always projecting. That's what it is. It's all projection. They're projecting how they're feeling about themselves onto others. And that all ties back into inner child issues, all of it. So when we grow up, these things happen to us, and we build these defense mechanisms or barriers to protect us. And, that keeps stacking up throughout the years, because then you get to adolescent years and it's issues with peers, and people are mean, kids are mean sometimes. And even though they don't mean to be, they're all projecting. They're all projecting how they feel. A lot of times it's about how they feel about themselves. So, then you get to adulthood and you get into toxic and abusive relationships, or you have all these abandonment attachment issues. So you never really know a healthy relationship because you're depending on all these other people to make you happy and whole. And you can say it a million times till I'm blue in the face, and people don't understand it. They can preach it all day long about how, you have to make yourself happy, but most of us don't live it. Most of us don't. I've done so much work on myself over the last couple of years, especially, and, really within the last year, mostly, just about self-love and really healing the inner child, and learning to love myself unconditionally. And that was a big thing for me. I thought I had self-love a couple of years ago, and because at that time I did so much work on myself. I'm a personal development junkie, and I'm sure you've heard me say that before, but I am. And I've done so much work on myself, and I thought I was good. But over the last year, I really had to heal some issues, some deep emotional wounds that came to the surface. And I did it with inner child healing, and I healed myself. And that's what I do with clients. I learned how to do these tools and techniques myself, which I'm going to start making videos on them to help others for my followers on the YouTube channel. But I really had to dig in deep and see why I couldn't deal with my reality, or why I thought I deserved things, that I deserve so much more. And you don't really know until you dig in deep. I mean, you could say all day that you love yourself because you get a pedicure, or, you get your hair done. It's not self-love. Self-love is digging deep within the depths of your soul, facing your demons, owning them, and dealing with your shit. And so many people don't deal with their shit. That's why so many relationships fail. So anyway, back to the inner child stuff. So we grow up and all these things happen to us. We build these barriers, and a good example of that is you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and maybe they're out of town and they're not texting when they should, or maybe you're out somewhere and you don't feel like you're getting the attention you want because you're not used to giving yourself love. You're used to getting that love from outside sources. So when someone, or maybe you're at home and your husband's watching a game, he's not paying attention to you, and you're pretty much like, you feel like you could stand there naked in front of him and be like, hey, I have no clothes on, and he's still looking at the game. That makes you feel invisible. That brings out that little wounded girl who got yelled at for spilling a glass of milk, or got told to go sit down or go away when she just wanted to show, her mom or dad something, or, the little boy who was acting out just to get attention because he felt invisible. They're still within you. And if you don't heal those inner children way back when, you still have those issues going into adulthood. It honestly, like I said in my other videos, it just gets pushed back in your subconscious, and then comes out in other ways, in toxic behaviors and autoimmune illnesses, alcoholism, drug abuse, toxic relationships. That's what happens. So if you sit back and think of a time where the last time you blew up with someone, maybe someone that you have a tumultuous relationship with, maybe a partner or a parent, if you sit back and think about the last time you really blew up, you really had that anger where you went into fight or flight, where you got all nervous and shaky and you felt sick and angry and upset. And if you really think, most of the times the feelings that come out of that are, you feel betrayed and hurt and left and abandoned. Those are usually the feelings that come up with my clients. And when that happens, that's your inner child reaching out. That's your inner child crying for help because you never healed those old wounds. So what I like to do is write a list. I will say, what the trigger is, what caused this issue. And then I'll say how I'm feeling. Because again, like I said in another video, I always like to put emotions on paper. I put emotions into words and then transfer that to paper, because it solidifies it and sets it in cement of how you're feeling, and gets a lot of us, like I said before, aren't in touch with our bodies. So that kind of lets you really feel how your body's feeling, and it lets you express it. So you put it on there, what the trigger is, what you're feeling, how your body's feeling, every pain, every tightness. Really sit there and listen with your body. Take a couple deep breaths and just sit there and feel it. And then I put uh, why I feel this way. And it always comes out. It'll always be tied back to an emotional event or an emotional wound from adolescent or childhood. And then I leave that piece of paper there and I'll walk away and I'll come back to it maybe an hour later, maybe a day later. And in my adult mind, because at that time when you go in that fight or flight, that's like, it's like muscle memory. It takes you right back to that place when you're this little, this little girl or boy, and you're upset and feeling angry and betrayed and abandoned and invisible. So I go back, and once you calm down, your adult self starts to come through again. So then you're calm and relaxed and in a stable frame of mind. And I mean, some people live in their inner child. I have had partners that have been 90% of the time in their inner child. And it's because they've never really dealt those wounds, and it's constant triggering, constant firing off. So they're constantly defensive and, not dealing with their issues, covering up with alcohol. And then they woke up hungover and then they start drinking again. It's like, it never ends. So I always go back when I'm my calm adult self. If you ever in that frame of mind, if you're not, you can set up a session with me. I can help you. But you come back and look at it, and you realize, you'll look at this piece of paper and realize, like, just how sometimes you'll go back and look at it and think that's so insignificant. I can't believe, maybe I was so dumb to do that, because that negative chatters, we all do it, and we shouldn't. I'm really been good about stopping myself from doing it, but you go back and you're like, oh wow, that was ridiculous. I don't know why I was upset about that, but you write down what reality is at the bottom of that list. Just write down what the real story is. A lot of times that real story is you feel invisible, or your feelings are hurt, or you feel something was unjust, or you realize that you're just overreacting because that little inner child went back to that spilled glass of milk and that punishment. So that's what inner child is in a nutshell. It's a lot deeper, and there are a lot more details that I could go on, but I could talk for days about it. That's what a lot of my work is. I help people heal that inner child. So I've had a client one time, I was talking to her and we brought out that inner child, and she sounded like a 3-year-old, and she was crying. And I said, do you want to talk? And she was crying and she said, I don't want to talk about it. But she sounded 3 years old. It's that strong or that severe. That girl, that woman went through years of sexual abuse and physical abuse and trauma. And her inner child issues were so huge that she had to live on drugs all the time just to function, just to cope with her life. So we made a lot of progress with her as well. And most people don't know about inner child issues. Most people in everyday life. A lot of people in spiritual work know, but other people don't. They don't know that we build these defense mechanisms or survival mechanisms, and they build and build and build until we create this fortress. And a lot of people walking around today aren't who they truly are at a soul level. A lot of people are so full of defense mechanisms and living through inner child wounds that if they stripped all of that away, they would be a completely different person. I have changed so much in the last 2 years. I look at old pictures of myself and I think about, the way I was living and the amount I was drinking, and I don't even know that person. That doesn't even seem like me anymore. And just the misery. I was just this shell of a human living through inner child wounds. I lived through them. I hid it very well, but I had so much healing and so much shedding to do. And I'm finally at a place where I am my true self. And I find that I'm not really relating to the people I used to be around all the time. I don't really connect with a lot of people, and I still love them dearly. I don't connect with them anymore. It's just different. I feel like a stranger, an outsider. because I don't feel those same ways anymore. But that's all because that was all stripped away. It's like you have all these layers of garbage and, insecurities and negative thoughts about yourself and the childhood wounds and, you know, the views of you see yourself with these glasses of what you've been told you are by either, ex partners or parents or peers or, anybody, coworkers, all that stuff. Even if you don't believe it about yourself, it still builds up. So you strip all that away of what other people think you are, what other people told you you are, or what you've questioned about yourself. And you come back to your soul self and to this complete whole person who is full of not only self love, but love for others. Because I can tell you, I was very cynical and negative and mean. I say I could cut someone's throat with words. I was just mean. And now when something happens, like I still joke, but not as much as I even used to. My jokes are in a different way now. They're not like pointing at certain people where before I was so freaking mean. But I've changed so much to where I just have so much love for people that because I realize that we're all one. So when I see someone either projecting or even someone that says something negative about me, for sometimes like if it's something ridiculous, I laugh it off. But I really feel sorry for that person because what they're doing, all these, whatever rumors or negative things they're saying about me, that's how they feel about themselves. They're really just projecting all of these negative feelings and emotions about themselves onto me. And otherwise they wouldn't say it because I mean, I don't care about other people. I don't really I believe in to each their own and live and let live. Even though we're all one, if someone has negative behaviors, I just distance myself. I love them at a distance. I have a lot of people that I love from a distance. I can take people, mostly in small doses because my top core values are authenticity, honesty, and integrity. And if I see someone out of place in those, I can see, even some of just the readers on YouTube. I can always see right through someone if they're not authentic. And if they're not, it really just repulses me and it's just something internal. And actually, I'm even working on that as well because I'm really working to be able to tolerate anyone. Honestly, because that only hurts me, it doesn't hurt them. So it's not everyone has the same top core values I do. Not everyone is really that into, the authenticity or the integrity or their character. I'm just that's just how I am. Those are my top values, not theirs. So I'm kind of learning to mix and blend with everyone. So, and that's how I challenge myself, though. I make sure that I dig deep and fix anything that I need to. So, really, I'm not affected by anyone. And that has nothing to do with them. That has to do with how I don't really want to feel in a comfortable place. Now that I've been high vibe and I've learned to keep my vibrational frequency at a high rate and the way I feel at that time, my connection with spirit and my guides and the way I'm supposed to heal others and help them, just the different level of healing I'm able to do in a different state of mind or a different energy as long as I keep my energy balanced. It's like I don't want to go back to that place. I don't ever want to be there again. I don't want to live through those inner child wounds. So if this is relating to you or like it's resonating with you and you're feeling it and you realize you have these inner child wounds where, even if you're sitting there feeling lonely or you don't like to be in your own thoughts or you feel invisible from your partner or you feel like you need someone to be with someone to be happier, to feel loved. I'm at a place in my life where I could not be with a partner ever for the rest of my life and I'd be completely okay because I just love my own company and to be with someone, I have to have them be better than that. I have to enjoy their company more than I enjoy my own, solitary confinement. Sometimes I call it because I'm always out here in the sticks by myself, but just me and my daughter, we're little hermits. But I don't need to be with someone. I make myself happy. I make myself whole. And I would love to help all of you do the same. And if you're feeling invisible or unloved or uncared for, that's all projection. It's never the partner's fault. It's something within you that you feel like you're missing. And a good example of this is in my 20s, I had kids at a young age. I had my first son at 18, and I was a single mom with two little boys by the time I was 21, 22. And I worked full time, and I went to college full time so I could give them a good life. And I worked my ass off. And then I got to be in my 30s, and it was like I was constantly working and buying things. I thought I needed things because I thought they're going to fill this gap I had within me. I had this big gaping hole in my heart, and I thought a partner would fill it. I've been married twice already, and 42, and or I thought a house would fill it, a big house, or a new car, or a new motorcycle, or a pool. I always thought these things would fill it, and nothing filled it, and I couldn't figure out why I was always so miserable. And it just clicked for me eventually. Once I started healing these inner child wounds, it clicked that it was my inner child needed healing. There was a hole in my heart because that little girl was crying all the time. The little girl felt lonely and invisible and abandoned and hurt and angry. I had to go through so much anger and clear it. And meditation's done wonders for me. And this work has done wonders for me because as I'm healing, helping others heal, I'm healing myself. And every session I learn something new. And sometimes it's about spiritual life. Sometimes it's about them. Sometimes it's something new I can do. And sometimes it's about my own internal issues that I have to deal with. And I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again. I'm honored and grateful to do this work, and it's humbling and it's amazing. But don't leave that inner child hanging. Don't leave that inner child without love or invisible. They need you. And I knew when my inner child issues were healed because I went into meditation, and my inner child was standing there, and this little girl was standing there. And I was in a meditative state, and I looked at her and said, "You're okay now." And she had a huge smile on her face, and she said, "I know." And she walked away. And it was like, at that moment, I knew all of the suffering, everything I lost, the divorces, the shit I went through, the shit my kids went through. I knew that it all had to happen to come to this. It all had to happen so I could heal that inner child, because if I didn't lose everything, I wouldn't have gone within. Because it's kind of like when you lose everything and people start praying to God. It's how I was. I lost everything and went through some really tough times, and I went within. And when I went within, I found that inner child who was wounded like a mother. And I healed her, and she's good now. And some stuff still slips up sometimes, and I continue to work on it. You're never done healing that inner child. It'll always come up. Things will always take you back sometimes. The key is to recognize it and heal it going forward. All you can do is peel through those layers. So I hope some of you understand. If you didn't, I hope that helps you understand inner child. And I really wanted to get my point across of how important it is to heal that inner child for your work going forward, whether you're in spiritual life or, maybe you think you're going through your awakening, or maybe you don't even know what that is. And you just know that you have this anxiety all the time, and you're always feeling invisible, or you're always feeling the need to be heard, or you're always feeling left out or hurt. That's not other people. That's you. That's your own inner child crying for help. And it may be, an event that you don't even remember, but I can help you remember, and I can help you, give you the tools to help yourself heal, your own emotional wounds from way back when, or maybe 10 years ago, or maybe it's from a partner. So many things happen in our lives we don't really remember. And that's how my gift works. I go into your subconscious and we pull them out, and then you realize them and you work through them, and they're gone, and you go on to the next thing, because we're constantly evolving, right? We never stop evolving. We're constantly growing. And I always say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I enjoy growing. I am constantly digging into myself to figure out new ways to heal, and finding old things that I realize are trying to correct self-defeating behaviors. And you don't even know how huge inner child healing plays into all this. So if you'd like a session, I'll have my website in the description of this video, and I would really love to help you heal your inner child. So I hope you book a session. And if you don't, I hope you just research about it and look it up for yourself, because I'm sure you can find some tools and techniques to do it yourself. And go through my videos, because I'm going to start posting some videos on different tools that I've used that help my clients. Okay. So I hope this helped, and leave a comment on what you think. And if you want more information on your child, I can give you some. It's kind of hard for me to pick apart everything everyone wants to hear. I just wanted to get the point across of what your inner child is and how important it is to heal. So have a great one, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.